as the crisis on our shores, in our cities, and in our states across America. The climate deniers are out of excuses, and we are out of time. The United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change issued its 6th assessment report. The new warning from the UN, from the IPCC, is actually code red. They are saying that the planet is in great danger, that our country is in great danger if we do not respond to the climate crisis. And now, the challenge for this Senate, for this country, is whether or not we are going to respond. And we are. The code red warning from the United Nations is going to have a code green response from the United States Senate in the $3.5 trillion package. We will invest in the technologies that will make it possible for us to respond to this dire warning from the United Nations, a warning that reaffirms that what we are seeing and suffering right now across our country, climate change is going to continue to cost us lives and livelihoods if we don't respond with the scope and the scale that this moment demands. The report says our responsibility is unequivocal. The effects of the climate crisis are unprecedented, and we have an undeniable need to act. From increasing intensity and frequency of extreme heat to catastrophic precipitation and devastating droughts, no community will be able to hide from the most dire impacts of our human-driven climate crisis. This report must be the final warning that we must respond. And right now, we are preparing, as Senate Democrats, a budget resolution that will be our best opportunity to respond to the code red warning we have received today from the United Nations, from the climate experts of the planet. That is our challenge. But we're going to have resistance. We have to basically sweep away this rising tide of cynicism that we hear from climate deniers, from the fossil fuel industry, and from too many Republicans. Senate Democrats are ready to forge ahead. This budget resolution is our opportunity to prevent the most alarming consequences of the climate crisis and equip ourselves to survive the climate impacts we cannot avoid, with policies to drive deep cuts in emissions, protect communities, provide equity and justice to overburdened communities. We can respond to overwhelming evidence and take the necessary action to save our people and our planet. We've received the final warning. We now have the best opportunity any Congress has ever had to respond. That legislation will be on the floor of the Senate in the next 2 weeks, next 2 days. As chair of the Clean Air, Climate, and Nuclear Safety Subcommittee of the Environment and Public Works Committee, I am ready to get to work and turn this budget resolution into legislative action. This vital investment will build on what we've already done, adding on climate equity and even more good-paying union jobs. We can save all of creation by engaging in massive union job creation. We can fund a clean energy accelerator that uses innovative, flexible financing to lower our emissions and create jobs with public dollars that can deploy and leverage private investment. This accelerator will unleash clean energy generation, energy-efficient retrofits, and opportunities in communities across our country. We can fund environmental justice, mapping efforts to understand the burdens of affected communities and direct our investments and our programs accordingly. We can provide the funding and support to monitor and to address the dangers of extreme heat, toxic chemicals, and polluted air. We can create a civilian climate corps and put millions of people to work on projects to protect our communities from climate impacts, support local projects, and get trained and get to work in building our clean energy economy. We must ensure that these jobs have high standards, prevailing wages, and just recruiting and hiring practices. And in this legislation that responds to the code red climate threat, we will have the tax breaks for the oil, gas, and coal industry for 100 years have had their control over tax breaks coming out of this Congress. Well, in this bill, we are going to have the tax breaks for wind and for solar and for all electric vehicles and for battery storage technologies. We are going to have the tax breaks for the solution to the climate crisis. This is the moment. This is what the world is waiting to see from our country. If we are going to lead, we cannot preach temperance from a bar stool. We have to step up and do the right thing and create the innovation economy that will save our country and save the world. And we can kickstart a clean energy revolution. And not only that, we can ensure that we have a revolution that is made in America. Jobs here, union jobs here, good-paying jobs here in the United States. We are going to have a domestic manufacturing revolution that we have not seen in a generation. And we're going to do it in the green budget resolution that we are going to bring out onto the floor of the Senate in the next 2 days. The answer to our clean future is blowing in the wind. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to save our people and our planet by going bigger and bolder than ever before. Senate Democrats are going to deliver real results for Americans, for our seniors, our children, our families, our working people across our country. As Massachusetts' own Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the first wealth is health. And this budget makes sure Americans' health care and futures are a priority second to none. Under our budget resolution, every child, regardless of their zip code, will have the opportunity to attend pre-K. Every teen will be able to reimagine their future with the ability to enroll tuition-free in community colleges across our country. And I'll be fighting to provide critical broadband connectivity support to ensure educational success for all students at home, especially poor children, black, brown, immigrant children in our country. And thanks to this budget, Medicare will now cover essentials like hearing aids, eyeglasses, and dental care for our seniors for the first time ever covered by Medicare. Millions of women will be brought into the workforce when we provide accessible and affordable child care for American families. And we will expand the child tax credit and make the child independent care tax credit permanent in our country. Permanent tax relief for every family with a child in our country. And we'll do all of this by paying for all of these investments, unlike Republicans, who put tax cuts for the wealthy on the American taxpayer's dime. We'll do this without any American making under $400,000 paying a single cent more in taxes and asking instead for the ultra-wealthy and the big corporations, including big oil and big gas, to pay more of their fair share, like workers and small businesses have always done in our country. These are the investments that will restack the deck in our country, level the playing field, and set in motion a more just future where every child, every family has the opportunity to achieve the American dream. The second train is finally about to pull into the station. Progressive champions in the House of Representatives are doing an incredible job holding the line to ensure that this resolution is passed alongside the bipartisan infrastructure bill. But as we recover from the multiple crises we face, we cannot accept a return to the status quo, a status quo that has left too many people behind in our country. Over the last several months, we have worked tirelessly to deliver for Americans: COVID relief, an expanded child tax credit, $7 billion for broadband access, support for students and families, and much more. Now, we need to pass this $3.5 trillion package, and not a cent less, to push forward and create a more just and livable future that every person in our country needs. That is what this moment demands, and I look forward to working with all of my colleagues on this budget resolution this week and taking the first steps to ensure this future is guaranteed for every child and family across our country. We can do it for families. We can do it for our planet. That is what our agenda has to be for the remainder of this week, and I think if we respond, we will have become one of the greatest Congresses that has ever served in the history of our country. Madam President, I yield back to you.
Madam President.
The Senator from Michigan.
Madam President, I rise today to highlight the incredible opportunity before us to build on the strong foundation laid in the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act through the Build Back Better budget. The Bipartisan Infrastructure